In this demo, I'll walk through logical modeling. So what is a logical model? It can be an application type model for CMS efforts, which is what I'll show here. It can be for data center migrations with your move groups, for monitoring purposes, whatever. Tool functionality is the same regardless of the purpose, though you will expose or hide different attributes specific to your purpose. For example, if this is for a monitoring effort, you probably want to track criticality or severity, because if one instance of a load balance cluster goes down, it probably doesn't mean the application's offline. And so if you track that content in the metadata, it can be carried downstream to other tools via your integrations. The metadata for the tiers in your modeling effort is mostly reusable content once you figure out how to identify and classify them, which is what you'll see in our environment and location sections. Now I'm using our forms to load the metadata and our visualizer over here to show our models after they're built, but the forms in the visualizer, they're just to show the process and prove the point. Yes, they are functional, but we're not trying to dictate a front end here. Plug and play any front end you wish. You can embed the RESTful API interaction in your tools, making this as seamless as you'd like, so that it really has the look and feel of being your service offered back to your customers. The first step is selecting a logical model, so I'll start by selecting an application. These can be created by an integration flow beforehand, but in this case I'll prove the point end-to-end, all self-contained here in the demo. So I will create a new application. And we'll give the application some name, sample web demo, and a short name, some unique identifier, and that's all that's required. Now that we've created it, we'll be able to select it from the drop down. So that's the application side. The next section is for target objects. This is where we identify the specific pieces and parts we're looking for, talking back and forth to the API. Now we have 4 different object types in the drop down right now. It's easy to extend this to other classes, but these are the standard ones. And so I'll choose software fingerprint for the first one, and to look at what's available in here, I'll just do a query back to the API, and now you can see software fingerprints with this expression gives some drop down list, and we'll just choose one. We'll work with PowerShell core. So let's change our target match pattern to be something that's specific to that. We can make it a regex, but this works okay. Alright, and now we'll choose an object name, and for this let's say PS core, and for a group, utilities. Alright, so that's our target object. The target section is specific to each model instance, so if you have multiple components in one model, you'll have multiple targets that you'll select here. The tiers, though, down here, they're mostly reusable across all your model instances. So let's go to the tier search. This is just a helper section, very similar to the above, but it consolidates and does unique instances. So if you were to look at DNS records or IP addresses, maybe an attribute off your node, maybe the domain, to figure out what environment it's going to be in and what location it's in. Anything that's discoverable can be used here. And again, we're filtering by specific classes and attributes that we want to filter by. So we'll go with IP address for this demo, and I have a few of these already calculated here. So for an IP address like this, we get different IPs back. And this one says I want to start with a 13, and it could be a 107 or a 90 something next. So we have 107, 91, and 92. And then this one says I basically want something that's, oops, wrong section, something that's not 192 or 14 to start with. So we get different IPs in here. All right, so this is just to help figure out what we're going to put down here. So down here, we're going to use these 3 patterns that we just looked at results on, and I'll just paste them in here. And we'll use our traditional dev QA prod, but this can be, you know, office, site, whatever. And from our tier search above, we're going to use this, save our pattern, do the same thing in the section below it, add a couple And instead of dev QA prod, now this is the location. So we could pull it from the same data set that we did before, which is what I'll do for the demo, or we could select something different. Maybe we want to go with a node domain, and if it's a certain domain, then it's in a certain location. So setting this back to the one above, just to have an illustration. And we'll say this is in Illinois, and this is in Utah, and this is in we don't know where, right? Save that pattern, and then insert. Now that inserts a metadata object in the database that is then fed to the modeling jobs that build those models out. Before we look at that specific model, I'll just run through what that model looks like. So here's the application at the top. This tier here is, if I open this back up, our target and environment and location. Our target is, the discoverable target is down here. This is our generated object then, and for this one you can see that this is Vertica, different tiers in it. This level here, Quincy in Utah, that would be the location. This here is a software collection. Back on the form, that's the group name. But it's just translating the form data into a model and builds it out. If I were to open up a refresh version, here's our sample web demo, and now you can see it's been built out. We have unknown because it's in the IP segments that were unknown. So prod, utilities, unknown, sample web demo, and all this gets built out. So if I were to go back and say, hey, I want to do another one for our sample web demo, and this one we want to choose a process fingerprint. And for the process fingerprint, we'll do a Java. Make sure that there are some. There are, okay. And then for the object name, we'll do all caps just for the heck of it. We'll put it in the same group. We can have a different group. It doesn't matter. Again, this is how you're modeling. We don't need to sample test our tier searches. We're going to use the same content that we did before. Whoops, environment, not location. So now we've submitted a second metadata object for the same application, and once that refreshes, the job runs, I think I have it set every 30 seconds or so it should be pretty quick. But once that refreshes, then we'll have additional context in here. And all we did was fill out a new metadata object that allowed the engine to realize what new components should be modeled under our sample web demo. So let's see if we have... Okay, it's already gone through, and so you can see that we'll just pull our PS cores up, and you can see that we have some Java objects here. And that concludes the demo. Thanks for watching.